Welcome to DVC Alumni, where every story inspires the next. The Alumni podcast where you get to hear the inspiring stories and transformation that DVC has had to offer its alumni. And now, on with the episode.
And we are live, and I'm very excited to have you on here. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hi, everybody who's watching, and for those who are not but will. My name is Michael Cortez, and I am a proud alumni of Diablo Valley College, originally from Vallejo, California. And I'm just excited to tell my story to those who are watching, and hope that it could be of inspiration and influence to those who are looking to walk this collegiate path and just live their life's journey.
Wow, that's quite an introduction. So let's talk a little bit first about, you grew up in Vallejo, right? And you ended up here at DVC. So why don't you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so growing up in Vallejo, California, it was a very fun time for me. I was very active outside, always with my friends or with my family members, my brothers, and we just were always outside doing something. Whether it was riding bikes clear across town, sometimes even walking, because at the time we're kids and we just want to go outside rather than be cooped up. So I had a lot of fun memories growing up in Vallejo, meeting various characters, various personalities, and realizing what community looks like. Oftentimes, the community that I grew up in would gather around football, baseball, or some sport, which I also engaged in. And that is how we got to know a little bit more about each other, became friends, or sometimes people weren't friends, but they battled it out on the football field or in the baseball diamond. And it just really showed me what home looks like. And I'm just grateful that my mother had provided that space for my brothers and I to have a home.
Cool. So great. So you went to high school in Vallejo, and how did you end up at DVC?
Yeah, so after graduating high school, and I went to Jesse Bethel, for those who are Jaguars out there. So I graduated from Jesse Bethel High School, and then I took a gap year. But it wasn't really by choice. It was more so by circumstance. I was in between houses, living from one area to another and just trying to figure it out. But I remember when I was in Vallejo at the time, I was working at Mare Island Dry Docks. And that was a very interesting time for me. You had a bunch of guys who were doing welding. They were cleaning the ships, sandblasting the barnacles off. I would see big naval ships, as many know in the Bay that Mare Island is an antiquitous naval base, which was actually utilized during World War II within the War of the Pacific, and provided many jobs to Vallejo residents around the time. And I was there, and I was cleaning. I was on duty as maintenance and sometimes demolition. So as I'm working with a lot of these guys, and many older than me, and I'm 18 at the time, many of them are about 30s, 40s, some 50s. And I'm going around asking like, hey, what's your story? A lot of guys, they told me their stories, and many of them said that they considered college, or they dropped out, or they didn't want to go, or some just straight up said, nah, I knew exactly what I wanted to do. And I just wanted to get into welding, or I wanted to become a plumber, or I wanted to work on a ship and join the Navy. So I learned a lot of life experience through others' life experience at that dry dock. But me, I was set on going to college. So much that I actually wrote a book that I never published at the time, but it was just something for me to keep my mind going and to stay engaged. And I wrote it called My Perspective. And I remember I was looking at the prison industrial complex within the United States around the time, and looking at what companies were invested in stocks, and how that plays into the school to prison pipeline. And I really could have did something with it, but once I got into college, here comes the homework. so, yeah. And from there, I finally got stable ground, and then said, all right, well, I think it's time for me to choose a community college. I was in Antioch at the time, and I said, all right, LMC or DVC. And a lot of my peers were like, oh, go to DVC, go blah, blah, blah. So I was like, all right, cool, I'll go to DVC. And then I started attending DVC.
Cool. So actually, the first part of your story, is very resonant with a number of our students here at DVC. Is that either didn't know or didn't have enough certainty in their life to be able to take on going to college or figure out what they needed to do. And so I could see where a lot of people would, definitely follow that track. Once you got here to DVC, um, tell us a little bit about that. What was your favorite class, and what was the thing that kind of inspired you to kind of move on with your college career?
Yeah, when I first got to DVC, I didn't really know too many people, although a lot of my peers, they said go to DVC, they weren't there. So that was the funny part of it. Like, how you gonna tell me to go to a school you don't even go to? Like, oh, I just heard it was a good community college. Like, some of them, they're at universities already, and that's just what they're hearing from their peers. So I said, all right, cool, I'm gonna go check it out. So I went up there, and I didn't know many people. And I was taking, I believe I was taking Italian at the time because I wanted to learn a foreign language. And I'd taken some Spanish classes in high school, and Latin influences Spanish, of course, and also influences Italian. So I said, all right, I could kind of just blend them together and figure it out from there and try to become trilingual at the same time. And I was taking algebra, and then I had a few electives. And those electives, they came after that first semester. So while I was there, in the beginning, I was just mainly finding my way, seeing how the system works, the mechanics of DVC. What does this community college to university path look like? So I would go into the counseling offices a lot too, and speak with my counselors like, hey, what classes do I need to get the credits? So when I do go to university, they don't try to say, well, now you got to start from scratch. So my counselors, they helped me with that. They were supportive on that end. And then I had stumbled across the Puma Center one day. I don't know how I walked into the Puma Center or what. I think I was just looking for a place to go study and work, and that was the perfect place. So, and at the Puma Center, that was mainly where a lot of the diverse students were. So, you got a lot of the Latinx, a lot of Black students there. You got a Moja as well, which I believe at the time was Heidi going Salter. She was like over it. Love Heidi. I hope she sees this too. Heidi, if you do see this, I love you. And let's talk soon. But if not, Chris, send it. I mean, Charles, send it to her. I'm sorry.
Oh, I will. I will. Well, that's the thing is I think a lot of folks get here to DVC and they find that person or counselor or teacher or somebody that they connect with that really is like that pivotal moment for them. So talk a little bit more about what Heidi did for you.
Yeah, so after I had like first stumbled upon the Puma Center, and then Heidi was like, "Oh, meet this person, meet this person." You know how Heidi's personality is. She's like, "Huh, get in contact with this person. This is this so and so." So she was very great at making sure that I felt welcomed and comfortable and got acclimated to the resources with the Puma Center, not just with Emoja as well, but just the entire center. Also, just with my personal journey to being a community college student, she was like, all right, I know you're going to your counselors, but I've been a teacher here for so and so. Let me look at this, check out, see if you're on the right path. And if you can't reach me, here's some other people too. And and I'm pretty sure she's been this for many students that went to DVC, whether they were a part of Puma, Emoja, or not, but really just being a nucleus for them, somebody to talk to about life. She's not trying to inundate you with school and pedagogy. She's really trying to speak to you as a human being and help you from that perspective. And I think when somebody does that, like Heidi does, it really takes out all the fluff and all the frustration of trying to figure out the mechanics of how do I go from community college to university. If you just meet somebody where they are and help them from there, that can open up the horizon to many other broader horizons.
That's cool. Yeah, like I said, I think that really is the story of DVC is people find that one person that cares enough about them, and especially if you're making a transition from, not sure what you're going to do to, a university, this is a great place to do that. So now we're going to transition a little bit. So you went from DVC and somehow you ended up at Morehouse, which is like I said before we started, is like I kind of fanboyed out a bit. Talk a little bit about some of the alumni that have been there. I mean, number one on the list, of course, is MLK. You, you could start there, or there's a few others on there, but go ahead. I'll let you take over.
Yeah, so of course we do got MLK. There's Samuel L. Jackson. There's Spike Lee. There's Otis Moss as well. And he was a reverend. There's also John Pastor Amos Johnson. I believe he's the third. But if not, then I misquoted. But Pastor Amos Johnson, he's actually over. And what's the name of his third Baptist church, I believe, in San Francisco. And he actually worked with Martin Luther King Jr. too. And I had the privilege of speaking to him and meeting him before I went to Morehouse. And I'm pretty sure he put in a good word for me. So hey, I always will remember him. And then his congregation member, Justin, who was the one who introduced me to him. Back when I was working in San Francisco while attending DVC at the time. Other than that, you have what's the brother name? Oh, I actually helped his grandson finish a class so he could graduate too. Oh man, I forgot his name. It's missing me right now, but it'll come. But Morehouse is replete with notable men, just period. No matter what industry they're in, whether it's preachers and teachers, how Morehouse has really started off or really began in 1867. It was meant on putting out a lot of preachers and teachers because after slavery had ended, it was very important that people become educated. And that's what previously enslaved people became educated. And that's what Morehouse has served to do. So the best way to get them educated was through one, teachers, and then two, preachers, because preachers were like the first degree of proximity to the Black community, to the recently enslaved Black community. So if the preacher's telling his congregation to go get an education, and the importance of education. They didn't want us to read. There was literally laws that had prohibited enslaved people from reading and learning and acquiring roles. Of course, they're going to tell the congregation to go educate themselves, so that way they don't get bamboozled anymore. So those are just a few of the notable alumni. But I do want to shed some light on those DVC members and faculty and staff like Heidi, who had really helped get me over to Morehouse. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention one, Dr. Terrence Elliott, who I believe is now retired. And I took his music classes, but he was heavy on HBCU's Black Power music, of course, especially in knowing your history. And of course, there's a brother who I believe now is Dr. Eric Handy, who was a counselor that was very instrumental in helping me get there too, and making sure that all my courses were right. I was passing classes too, and he was even a chaperone on an instrumental trip that had took many students from California community colleges all the way to the what we know as the Bible Belt or the South, and taking them to HBCUs there. If it wasn't for these two brothers, those at Umoja in the Puma Center, and just that community of friends as well, and even Dr. Frank Ortega and Dr. Albert Ponce as well, I don't think that I would have been as focused or even as supported.
You named off a ton of people, and again, this is, I think, the DVC story is really guiding people to their path. And so, how did you end up going from DVC to Morehouse? I mean, I mean, I'm a California guy, and it's like the only reason I know about HBCUs is because of previous employment that I had, where we talked a lot with them. But it's not traditionally a thing that Californians generally know about, and I think it's remarkable. It's an amazing place to get an education for a young man. But how did you end up making that choice to go to Morehouse?
So I had first got exposed to HBCUs when I was in high school. They were having an HBCU fair. Well, actually, let's take it back a little bit further. I was in middle school at Vallejo Middle School in 6th grade. And they had an HBCU fair. And that was the first time I got exposed to HBCUs. I didn't know that there was actually one in California too, Charles Drew Medical School. Yeah, yeah. And a lot of, and what's funny too is a lot of folks out here in the South, they don't know, they weren't aware that there's a HBCU in California. So they're always shocked when they hear that. So yeah, at the time I wanted to be a neurosurgeon. So in middle school, I was like, I'm gonna be a neurosurgeon, blah, okay. So Charles Drew was on the board for me. But then when I got to DVC, I chose psychology. So now, and that's what I got my degree in from Morehouse too. So HBCUs came to me at an early age, reinforced in high school. And then I took that HBCU tour with Dr. Handy and some other faculty as well to go to FAMU, Florida, which is Florida A Agriculture, and Florida Agriculture, what is it, mechanics or something like that, university. And then Morehouse, Clark, Spelman, which are all in the Atlanta University Consortium. And then we went to Dillard, and we also went to Xavier down in Louisiana. And we went to one in Alabama, I forgot the name, and another one in Florida. So that gave me a lot of exposure. But by that time, I had already applied to Morehouse and Clark. I was set. At first, I was going to choose UCLA. I said, all right, let me go to LA. But I said, nah, let me go south. I'm gonna go over to the south. And I chose that because I wanted to be in an environment where I felt like I would be genuinely supported outside of affirmative action, or somebody just wanted to support a Black man just because he's a Black man. It's like, no, I wanted somebody to support me just because that's what they want to do. There's no internal incentives. And I got that, and I found out that I got accepted to Morehouse when I was on that tour, which was pretty cool.
Man, that must have been awesome. Yeah, I know that HBCUs tend to be a smaller campus than like a UCLA or a Berkeley, and it can be much more supportive of anybody that goes through that, much less, so it's certainly a good choice. I know my youngest daughter chose Chapman down in Southern California for that very reason. It's just, I mean, I think at that time they had maybe 6,000 students total. So it was, she had smaller classes and felt very supported through the process. So now you go to Morehouse, you get the support there. What was that experience like at Morehouse?
Man, Morehouse was very reminiscent of DVC, but just Black. Seriously. Seriously, that's how it was. Because to your point, there was only 2,500 students at the time. And this was before they started to do online classes. So 2,500 traditional students, ages ranging from 18 to oldest sometimes 25. in classes of maybe 20 and 30 at most. So your teacher was right there. Your teacher knew you by name. Your teacher knew when you weren't there. Your teacher knew when you were there. If your teacher saw you walking on campus outside while they're teaching class and you come in class the next day, they're going to tell you about it. And then they're going to give you a talk and say, "You're going to waste your money like that? You're going to waste your future like that." The teachers, they were very, very supportive. And they were really educators, much like the educators that I had encountered at DVC and that had embraced me. And I make the distinction because the teacher just makes sure you not make sure you pass the class, but make sure that you comprehend the content and the pedagogy. But an educator is more involved in your life. Like, hey, they know about you applying for a scholarship or what your goals and dreams may be, and they try their best to support you on that journey. And I really was embraced like that within the psych department at Morehouse. Man, I remember it was Dr. Shanae Young. She's the only reason why I passed statistics, because I had failed statistics for a whole calendar year, and that sucked. But I went and spoke to her, and I wasn't even her student in any of her classes, but she still took time out of her day to tutor me. And just that 1 hour a week literally got me from a D to an A. And I think that's the difference when you're a teacher and an educator. You actually show the student that you're interested in their success. And when they see that and they feel that, they become even more interested in their success. So it's very symbiotic.
That's amazing. And yeah, I think that, DVC probably prepared you by teaching you about, office hours and things of that nature. But
Yeah.
so you graduate from Morehouse, and tell us about what you're doing now, because that was the other part of it, is like, I'm kind of looking at what you do now. So what is it you do now?
Yeah. So here's what I would like, especially since we're hearing all about artificial intelligence and it's just AI is taking over the tech landscape. So at Morehouse was the only undergrad institution in the nation at the time. I'm not sure if this is still true, but in the nation at the time that was teaching their students research methods and statistics. So we were literally writing white papers, going through the institutional review board process to get white papers approved for our case studies, and conducting them on campus or off campus to collect the data based on our hypotheses and to test them and prove them or disprove them. So at Morehouse, they taught me how to write white papers. I can literally use that skill now, go to a company and say, "Hey, you need white papers done on your customers, seeing how they respond to so-and-so." I can do that. I have experience. So I was grateful for that. But I say all that to say is I learned statistics. Statistics are transferable to anything that has numbers. And what that directly correlates to is data engineering, data science, data analytics. And the reason why these data roles are so important, going back to artificial intelligence, is because bad quality data makes a bad quality AI. But if you have this skill set, the knowledge, and you know all the players within this data architecture and this data process of who feeds into it, and you could create quality data, then you create good AI or healthy AI. And that's how you can secure yourself a role. So from there, I graduated and I had to fill in a couple skill gaps. I knew statistics. I learned how to use SPSS, but SPSS was very outdated, but very specific for behavioral health science. I had to learn SQL, Excel, Python, and then Tableau for data visualization. After learning those skills, I had actually got reached out to by an old student employer at Morehouse, and she said, "Hey, Michael, saw what you're doing, see how you're posting on LinkedIn, your skills. Would you like to come work with me?" And from there, that's how I got a data analyst role, transferring those statistics and psychology into now data analytics.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I agree with you. Is like AI is just AI. It's a tool. But if you it's if you dump bad stuff into it, it's going to give you a garbage output. And I think at the end of the day, that's how AI, a lot of folks think AI is going to murder us all, and that's probably the only way it's going to do it. And I've talked to a number of AI experts, and they're like, nah, most of them are like, nah, it's not going to murder us. We're probably more capable of doing that to ourselves. So
And history has shown.
exactly. So talk a little bit about your current role. What is it you're doing, and a little bit, because I've come my previous job involved a lot of data, and it was very fascinating, and I love data. I've a bit of I'm not as good at it as you, but I'm a bit of a data geek. Is like I kind of love just, especially when watching people interpret data correctly. That's the other thing.
Right.
So, because that's an education process, because sometimes people will come across with a data point and they draw this massive conclusion from it. It's like, no, that's just one piece of data. You went outside and said it's sunny today. You can't draw a conclusion other than it's not cloudy.
hmm Yeah. So in my current role with the Morehouse Innovation and Entrepreneurship Center, I look at, and well, not look at, but I do a lot of data analysis for our entrepreneurial programs, whether they're focused on students or small businesses here in the community. So we have cohorts, and these cohorts are designed to help business owners within specific industries, whether it's retail, construction, aviation, and so on, and getting them access to procurement opportunities with prime contractors that can give them the opportunities they need to scale their business, giving them the nomenclature as well as the network. So that way they can connect with program managers or directors and provide their capability statements to these corporations and say, hey, you put up a RFP, which is a request for proposal, or RFI, request for information on, let's say something like drywall or plumbing or welding or scaffolding. Here's my capability statement. Here's my past performance. Here's my website. Here's my NAICS codes as well. And here's what I can do for your business. So then what the program manager or the director will do is review this business owner's capability statement and say, okay, based on so-and-so, this seems like a good match. And a capability statement is just a resume for a business. That's all it is, just to provide a direct correlation for those who are wondering. And I think every business owner should have a capability statement, whether you're registered with your state or the federal government to become a contractor. So then they show the prime, hey, here's my capability statement. They sit down, they have a conversation, and then the prime contractor goes from there and says, okay, they have these certifications, whether it's women owned, minority owned, small business owned, hub zone. That helps us with the set aside in the contract. Let's get with this company. Boom, they put it together and they get a deal made. So our programs are directed at helping those business owners get those opportunities and helping them successfully navigate it, as well as helping the students with their entrepreneurial ventures and helping them ideate and scale their businesses too.
That's awesome. I would love to see there's got to be something around here in the Bay Area like that, but we may be having a further conversation about this, because I love entrepreneurial support like that. I think it's a wonderful thing, and it gives you a chance to take all the information that you've gathered and be able to help businesses launch and grow themselves. So that must be awesome.
100%.
So what do you see like the next few years for you? What does that look like?
I'm considering grad school. Although I'll say this, contrary to the norms that are going around, like, oh, you just need experience, a portfolio, and a certification to get a big tech job. I will say this: you can do it that way. That is great. I don't advise people not to go that route. But degrees are good for one, you get the education, two, and most importantly, in my opinion, you get the network and the brand name. So if you want to look at it like, okay, if I go to this school, it's the equivalent of me driving a Mercedes Benz. Or I go to this school, it's the equivalent of me getting a Ferrari or whatever. Go and get your Ferrari, go and get your Benz then, because what I'm saying is when you start to apply, you'll get noticed. Just like when you're driving those cars, you'll get noticed. And again, with the network, so there's a lot of perks. Obviously, we're here on this call right now because of the network and being alumni of DVC. But now you're connected to a vast network of individuals who are either in hiring positions at various companies just because you went to school with them, or you got that alma mater. That is real. I mean, I see Morehouse everywhere, and literally because I was a student at Morehouse, and I had a Morehouse brother who was working at Delta. He had helped me get a free flight to Portugal for a 3-week entrepreneurial conference that I got accepted into, and then I got a scholarship too. And then I forgot, I think it was like GoFundMe or something was on campus that day, and they said, "Oh, you started to GoFundMe for your trip, huh? We're going to donate." So the actual company for the platform I was funding on gave me money for the trip and only had to pay like maybe $800 out of pocket for that. So go get your grad degree and let it work for you.
Yeah, I you brought up something during this part, which I think is absolutely critical. And it's like I tell people this. I have a class sometimes I get to teach about networking. And it's about, and the main thing is one, and I didn't think about this, I'm going to work it into my next one. But it's about creating the brand,
Yep.
and it's about creating your personal brand. And then the other part of it too is like, take care of your network, by going to a branded place like Morehouse or to, MIT or you go to Harvard Business School or something like that. You get a automatic branding that you can use, but then you also have to nurture that network, and you also get a big hand up into a network that maybe somebody like me doesn't necessarily have, and I have to do it the hard way. But it's still about building that network and how critical that network is. So, what do you do to take care of your network on a regular basis? Because obviously, you have a very wide net that you've caught. I mean, I've never gotten a free flight to Portugal, so it's just, I mean, I'm not hating on you. It's just I'd like to hear more about, because obviously that came out of your network. And
Yep.
how is it that you kind of take care of your network? Do you like nurture it on a regular basis, or you just reach out to people, or what's your kind of like, what do you spend doing to kind of work on your network on a regular basis?
Yeah, so specifically for college, there's alumni events, and there will be alumni chapters in your city or your state that you can attend. So when you go to these alumni meetings, you network. Not everybody knows everybody. Like, for example, I'm Morehouse 22, but I might meet somebody Morehouse 87 up there. And then we talk, we have a conversation, we learn about what each person does, and then we see how we could be of assistance to each other. Now networking is capitalistic in essence, and that's not a problem at all. You're literally networking with somebody to discover how can you benefit each other financially or socially. And all capital is social capital. So the more people that know you and what you do, then the more opportunities that you will have, because opportunities come by way through you or through others that know of you. So it's just about putting yourself out there. And one great thing that you can do is, let's say opportunity comes across your desk for somebody that you know, and you send them that opportunity, they'll remember you when an opportunity that aligns with you comes across their desk. It's not exactly quid pro quo. It's more so just I remember you.
I think Benjamin Franklin was the one that said, if you really want to be remembered by somebody and have them be grateful for you, go borrow a book from them. And the reason, well, at the time, books were unbelievably valuable. And you borrow a book, and even if they hate you, they're going to like you, especially when you get back, obviously. But you're going to have that common bond. But I think your statement about networking is and things like that is going to make it into my presentation and probably into other stuff, because I think that's brilliant, about it being capitalistic by nature, but not in a bad way. It just is. There is an exchange, and I do agree that it's not a quid pro quo. Every job I've had, this is my fourth career that I'm working on. I've gotten because I knew somebody,
Right.
and that was the thing is, oh, hey, I know Charlie, and you're getting stuff like you got a trip to Portugal and you got your current position. You got a lot of stuff because it's like, oh, you made an impression on somebody and you have that network and you continue to nurture that network.
Mm.
We are just starting up our DVC Alumni Association. So we started last April and we've grown it quite a bit, which is why one of the reasons I reached out to you. And if you're ever back here in the Bay Area, let's get you connected up for a alumni meetup of some sort. And I will be reaching out to Dr. Handy to let him know that you spoke so highly of him. That's for sure.
Yep. Tell everybody.
I will. So are there any parting words as we wrap this up? I want to be respectful of your time for sure.
I appreciate that. And then for your networking class, if you ever need a guest speaker too, I can speak to that as well. Atlanta is a bustling city, rampant with busy bees and their businesses. And the better you know how to network, the better that you can get some honey. So, my parting words would be to anybody who is on just their journey of life. You don't remember college just by the classes you make, the homework you've completed. You remember college by the experiences you have and the people that you connect with. And my story has been very reflective of that by me dropping all these names and speaking highly of these people who genuinely wanted to support me on my journey. But that doesn't exclude my peers as well. My peers, they helped me out too. I remember there was the Men of Color Association that I had started with a friend, Cameron Smith, and then there was Chukwudi Nodum. They're both graduates now. I believe they're both graduates of grad school too. And then the Women of Color Association was started too, and they surpassed us. Like, man, they went up. We were sailing, they were flying. But hey, water and air. We just worked out the way we worked out. So my peers, they were there. I remember the things that we did, the places that we went. Again, that HBCU tour. So I say this: if you're shy, open up a little bit. If you're an introvert, help somebody open up a little bit. But if they don't want to, you don't force. So, but be yourself at all times. Be true to yourself. Know what it is that you want to do in your heart. Money, it's always going to be there, okay? And yes, you will have to work a job a little bit so you can get investment funds for whatever it is that you want to do, and that's fine. But never sacrifice your authenticity to yourself. And that doesn't mean like in the face of somebody something trying to make you sacrifice that authenticity, you explode with anger and rage, like you're a punk rocker or something. No, you just sit back. You just be true to you. Like, nah, this doesn't align with me. I'm not gonna take it. I'm gonna go this route. You have an internal compass granted to you by the Most High, and that is called your spirit, your soul, your intuition, whatever you want to call it, your heart. Listen to that, and it will guide you always. College is a great tool for your journey. Use it wisely, spend time with it, have fun, meet people, live life, and have no regrets.
Well, I think that's a brilliant way to wrap it up. I really appreciate the time you've taken with us today. I think it's been a great uh, opportunity for folks to learn about you. Yes, and clips of this are going to make it into my presentations, and we will definitely have a chance to get you connected to some of the students here. I think it'd be a really good opportunity for them to meet somebody who's done so much with their life, and it sounds like you've had a good sense of direction, most of what you wanted to do in a lot of ways. But and with that, we will wrap it up. And I want to thank you very much for your time.
Likewise, Charles. I appreciate you.
All right. I greatly appreciate you, and we'll have you get on and do a little announcing for us because you have a great voice for it.
Sounds great. Yeah, keep
All
me
right.
in mind. All right now, Charles.
Thank you for tuning in to DVC Alumni, where every story inspires the next, the podcast for the DVC Alumni Association. You can contact us at alumni@dvc.edu with any comments, and be sure to leave a like and subscribe to our podcast.